Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Majority Show. My name is Mark Devlin, and this is Scotland's #1 anti-nationalist show, coming to you live from on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. I'm here today night with my co-host David Griffiths and Mary Devlin.
Hello, good evening.
Hello, everyone.
And tonight, what we're going to be talking about?
Tonight, I will be asking Kate Forbes, is she really the acceptable face of the SNP leadership campaign?
And I'll be reporting on the sky-high costs of free bikes and asking what the SNP get out of it.
Okay, well, we seem to have a little bit of a problem with the connection. Is your connection okay there, David?
Yes, I look fine. I can see you both fine. I can see the messages. Yes,
I'm not hearing David very well.
Okay,
right. So hang on.
Yes, we're having some issues on our side, but we'll see if it improves over the next little while. Of course, we're going to be discussing the latest developments in the SNP leadership contest.
Yeah, indeed. And of course, we have Zoomer of the Week.
Right,
and
so
as usual, I'll be handling all the comments, so please keep them short, and I'll try to get as many up on screen as I can.
Right, okay, so we'll be back in just a moment. Right, hello again. Welcome back to the Majority Show, Scotland's #1 anti-nationalist show. Before we start, as usual, a huge thank you to our friends at UK Union Voice and United Against Separation, where many of you are watching tonight. We have a new format in the show. We basically just get straight into it instead of all that stuff we used to do. So anyway, so let's start. Let's talk about the SNP leadership contest. And the only thing I can say about that is thank God that all those hustings are over. I don't know if you, but I'm completely sick of listening to those three idiots talking almost every night on the TV talking.
Yeah.
And, we had to watch in a professional capacity, watch most of them. And it's really very tedious. And as the title of this particular episode says, and to paraphrase Henry Kissinger, can't they all lose?
Yes.
So our first thing is we're going to we'll try and work our way through the different candidates. First of all, David, do you have anything to say about Ash Regan? Let's start with her.
Ash Regan, well, I would say, as always with Ash Regan, she speaks with great authority, she hopes, on matters about which she clearly grasps next to nothing. Really, she's been uniformly dreadful throughout. As we've said, she is clearly just parroting whatever people have said to her in briefings minutes earlier. Stephen Daisley said, I've never before seen a candidate giving a speech which they literally make up answers to questions on the hoof, and that's what she's doing. It's quite something. Quite. Yeah. So yes. So yeah. I mean, you know about the stuff that Wings and stuff is doing for him.
It just seems that if Wings says to her, "Okay, say something about 56 countries getting independence from the UK," that's what she'll say. And then if Salmond in her earpiece, it feels like she's in the earpiece, right? Yes. Salmond is in there, and he's saying, "All right, okay, now let's mention the Stone of Destiny." You got mentioned, so that those things with the guy in the room, and then if Tim Rideout holds up a picture of a banknote with a unicorn in it, she goes, "Oh, this is great! This is really great stuff," and we have to put this out straight away. That's the feeling we get from this.
Yep.
All along the way. So it's really very strange to see this going on.
Yeah. Very much so. Yeah.
Mary, are you there?
I am here, Mark, but I'm having trouble with the comments. They're not going up on the screen for some reason.
I'm
so
seeing the
just
comments. So
bear with me. Bear with me, and I'll try to deal with this.
Yes, it seems to have a little bit of technical issues on our side. Not really know why this time, because everything should be set up. But it's a miracle of modern technology. Well, let's put it this way: it's a miracle when it works. And
listen, there's some good comments coming in. I'll shout a couple of comments.
David, can you hear us okay and everything going okay?
Hear you absolutely fine. Seeing the comments also. Really good comment here saying, is this why Ash Regan talks so quickly? Because she just doesn't know what she's talking about. From me, much. Absolutely right. You can't understand what she's talking about because she doesn't understand what she's talking about. Very poor. So yes, lots of good comments coming in. Some Mark Vega saying, I have a horrible sense that Humza will win. It will spell doom for everyone. Could be. We'll see.
Well, we can see about that in a little bit. Okay, so we do have the clip of Regan here. Let's have a look at that. Let's go. Everything's all in a big state. So, all right, here we go. So here she's talking about central bank with Beth Rigby. If it comes up, I don't know what's going on here.
This is priceless.
Yes, it is. Let's try that again. See if we can get this on. Oh no, it's for some reason it's not come up. It'll probably come up unexpectedly. But let's talk about that. I mean, she had this situation which was a bit like a headlights or a rabbit in headlights. Choose your animal, where she did not know the answer to this question about the central bank.
Yep.
And I mean, you can really get this feeling that she doesn't. The people have said something to her like, okay, as we say, talk about the stone of destiny, or talk about 56 countries leaving, or whatever it is, and then she doesn't ask, well, what happens if this? What's the next thing?
Yeah.
What happens if they ask me a question after that?
Yeah.
They don't have that idea, and I think that's because they're really trapped in the bubble, and this idea that they all get amongst themselves and they go, we've got this really great idea. For a central bank, we're going to make these banknotes, and here's the unicorn, and look at this, it's so great, and they all pass it around. Oh, this is great, this is the great thing, we love this, and then they go, the Yuns will never be able to question our brilliance. We are stunning. That's stunning. And then as soon as it gets onto TV, then it folds just straight away.
Exactly.
Utter nonsense.
Yesterday, that clip, for those of you who haven't seen it, the clip featured Beth Rigby saying to Ash Regan, okay, so you're going to set up a central bank, and what other institutions will you set up? Her answer was, well, we'll set up a central bank and a currency. That will be the institutions. Beth said, what other institutions do you need? Oh, what institutions are you talking about? She didn't have a clue. And Beth named a couple of institutions that you need. And she said, I don't have the details of it all yet. And I'll be the first minister anyway. It won't be anything to do with me. It'll be experts. Oh God, it was just
every question is about when it gets to the second level, it says, "Oh, we'll get experts to talk about that." Well, wait a minute, you're supposed to be the leader of this plan, right? So you should know what you're talking about before you go to the experts and say, "I have this idea that I'd like to set up a Scottish currency. What do you think?" You go, all right, okay. Well, we're going to have to do a central bank. We're going to have to do this and this and this. Oh, is there anything else we might need? Anything else? Okay, and then now what if the Yuns come at us and they say that's rubbish?
Yes.
Oh, they go like, no, I haven't thought about it at all. No,
you're giving her too much credit there, Mark, because obviously at the point where she said that a new currency was going to be set up in like 2 months or a few weeks or whatever it was, it was very obvious to everyone that she had absolutely no idea what a currency or a central bank or how any of that works.
True.
So to say that she thinks that she even has to go to an expert, she probably thinks it's just easy. It's like you rent a building, you put a big central bank sign on the front, and you hire a few people to work behind counters, and there you go. You've got a central bank.
The Emma Harper, School of Economics.
Credit cards.
We've already got the notes.
Card management.
We've got the notes already. We've printed them out in their laser printer, and we're ready to go.
They say Bank of Scotland on them, or
Unicorn Bank.
Oh,
20 groats later. Now let's see if I've got this video here.
Institutions you need.
Here we go.
What other institutions are you talking about?
You don't know. The Independent Debt Management Office.
Right, I'm sure, as I said, I don't have
Fiscal
the full
watchdog.
detail on this at the moment because
Just like that. It's that way the whole way through. I just don't have the details on that at the moment. It's like you're on national TV. You should be expected to have the details. Not even the details, but at least a decent deflection. Right?
Yes,
You
quite.
know, not I'll pass it off to, Wings Over Scotland to make a reply for me. It's not like
Well,
that.
I mean, the first question that anyone asks, if you say, well, okay, I'm going to set up a central bank and a new currency, you would expect anyone to say, well, how are you going to go about that?
Yes.
What does that involve? But at that point, she's completely stuck.
Yep.
No, I mean, does she have the meeting with these, Tim Ryder or whatever, and just go, all right, okay, 5-minute meeting. Oh yeah, that's it. We'll talk about central bank. Of course, we can do a central bank. Of course, the UK government is going to say yes to our demands. Like, of course. It's preposterous.
It's very immature.
Yes, it's really does. To paraphrase Mike Tyson, every nationalist is a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yeah, true. Yeah, and that's end of plan. Quite exactly.
Oh, it's she is. I mean, the thing is, there's actually too many things that we can talk about out of these hustings. There's so many points that are just so utterly ridiculous that we just have to, focus on a few. I'm sure you've all seen them, and some of them, and you can put them in the comments if you like. We may be able to discuss them, but. Just ridiculous. David, so moving on. Let's talk
Can
about...
I just ask, Mark, I finally managed to get a comment up on the screen.
Brilliant.
And now I can't get it off the screen.
Oh, really?
Where is it? I don't know where it is.
Oh, it's probably up the top somewhere. Anyway, of the thing. Okay. Well, can you not just put
I
another one on?
I don't think it is.
Right, what about this one? Okay.
Yes, I can just replace them.
Yeah, just replace it. Why are they insulting our intelligence so much? Yes, I mean that is a perennial question. The whole thing is like that. I mean, but this is a thing that we're actually seeing these questions being asked now. Beth Rigby just says, "Well, how are you going to do that?" I mean, it's not a big question.
That's question number one, isn't it? To expect. Well, how are you going to go about that? What's it going to involve?
Yes.
I mean, but she hasn't even preempted that amount, so you wonder who's coaching her.
Well, yeah, the story that I read was that she and her husband together put this plan into action after a 4-hour chat one Sunday morning. So that's where her ideas have come from. This idea about the voter empowerment mechanism, the VEM as she calls it, which she tries to say is not the same as a de facto referendum, and then she describes it as being exactly the same as a de facto referendum. And they're saying, well, she's at least come up with a plan. That's not a plan at all. Let's just say we're going to move forward with independence. That's not a plan. That's just a wish list.
It's a statement.
Just a statement.
Some kind of
Quite
statement.
So
a hope, a desire, a wish.
Quite.
It's not an action, not a plan, a path.
Quite.
Or a methodology or a way forward. It seems to be bereft of any actual practicalities. I'm not even talking about intellectually. It's just like, it's one of these things, independence is what you make it. Yeah. Right? It's if you can if you can kind of convince people that some idea you've got, however barmy it is if they accept it, then that's reality.
Yes.
It's a bit like that. Okay,
true,
moving on to Kate Forbes. Now, David, you've got quite a lot to say about this.
I do actually, yes. I will come on to it after the break.
Oh, there's a break. Okay, all right.
Yes, everybody. I've been a little bit struck by Kate Forbes's campaign since day one, really. Now, you'll be aware that most commentators, I'd say most commentators on the non-SNP side are pretty much fulsome in their praise for Kate Forbes. She is, of course, the finance secretary. She has recently come back from enforced absence because of maternity leave. And since she's come back and joined the campaign as, if you like, the possible alternative, maybe the palatable alternative to Humza Yousaf, she has garnered quite a lot of praise. We've all seen in the comments, well, at least she's honest. You know, she's really in the wrong party because she understands the economy. I would vote for her if she didn't keep backing independence. And so the general consensus, and I'm talking generalities here, among pro-UK voters is, Humza Yousaf would be a disaster as First Minister, not only for the SNP, but even worse for Scotland because of the damage he would wreak. Whereas Kate Forbes would understand business, and she would probably be an acceptable alternative. And again, you've heard the kind of phrases. She understands business. She understands the need for private investment. Amazingly, she appears to believe in the trickle-down economics, which is quite staggering for a left-wing progressive party to talk about a standard conservative party policy for decades. But anyway, she has indicated that she sees the need for private business. So,
some people have said that she's, her policies are more Tory than the actual Scottish Conservative Party,
which is a fair comment, in as much as we know that the Scottish Conservative Party is just made up of disaffected Remainers these days who are not particularly conservative at all, as we know. So you can understand the point. But I'm going to throw a little bit of a spanner into works here, because I've watched Forbes very closely from literally the first day, and I don't actually agree that she's the antidote to Humza. I think Humza would be a disaster, absolutely, but I think he would probably damage the SNP more than he would, and the cause of independence, more than he would damage Scotland, because I don't think he's got the capability to damage Scotland. That's my hope. Anyway, my view about Forbes, however, is I don't think she's as squeaky clean and as nice and as honourable as they make out. I think she's been very, very cynical with her campaign from the outset and from day one. Yeah, and the reason I say that is, if you remember him,
babyface killer.
Say that again.
Babyface killer.
Babyface killer is right. The babyface assassin. Yeah, babyface. Literally day one, she was asked about certain faith-based questions.
Yes, sure.
Yeah, given that she's got this, as we know, she's got this link to the Wee Free Church, the Free Presbyterian Church of Scotland, which is rather takes a very literal view of the scripture and is very inflexible. So she was asked some real dolly questions. She could easily have avoided them, but no. In she came with her size 12s and said, oh, well, of course, yes, I'm personally opposed to same-sex marriage, and I would have voted against it. Yeah, and of course, I would have voted against abortion, and I don't really believe in sex outside of marriage. And everyone was absolutely aghast, thinking, yes. What on earth are you saying? What on earth did you do for? It reminded me of Glenn Hoddle when he was interviewed in the Times, and he couldn't wait to stop being interviewed about football so he could give his utterly grotesque views about reincarnation and people who have handicaps paying for sins in previous lives. And he talked so much utter rubbish. He couldn't wait to start talking it, and the FA had to fire him because he talks that sort of nonsense. Yeah. Anyway, but this was very mild questioning, and she just got it completely wrong. She could easily have swerved these questions with very, very standard political non-answers, but no, she said it still very, very deliberately. And that night, it looked like she torpedoed her campaign from the start. You remember the fallout, Mark? I think you said at the time, my God, her campaign's over.
Yeah, I mean, it was quite shocking. I'm not too sure it was particularly cynical, though. So I'm waiting to see how you come around to that. But I think certainly it made a lot of damage inside the party, because it basically said to anyone who's gay or anyone who has a progressive agenda in the party, they wouldn't be welcome under her under her leadership. She's been trying to roll that back, and people like Joanna Cherry and others have been saying, well, she would uphold gay rights and all that. But the simple fact is, anyone who is gay or who is in those communities is going to say, well, but she said quite explicitly that if that vote was in front of her, she would have voted against it.
That's right.
Right? And so that's a political choice, not a religious choice. So that makes a big difference to people. It's like you could say to people, I'll abstain on the because of my religion. But politically, this is a good thing for the country. But that's not what she said at all. What she said was, I'm just going to go for it anyway. And so who knows what's going to happen in the future in that case? You know, something comes up to do with her religion, and then she just goes, oh, well, my religion is more important than you lot. So
absolutely right. Now, I'll explain why I think this. The night that after she said all that stuff, her campaign manager, I think his name's Ivan McKee, appeared on TV literally looking like he'd seen a ghost. And he couldn't believe what she'd said. Clearly, he soon stepped down. Numerous, as you say, SNP MPs and MSPs made it clear they couldn't possibly serve under a First Minister who held these non-progressive views. So why did she do it? My view, this is simply my view. I think she came into the campaign in a calculated attempt to win over the SNP members whom she felt had been disenfranchised by the whole GRR debacle. And this was her way of appearing as the common sense candidate, the back to traditional Presbyterian views candidacy. I think that's what she was doing. Now, remember, Forbes had been on maternity leave for the previous 7 months. She stayed off work right throughout the gender recognition reform bill, right throughout, and it was looking like she was deliberately staying out of it so that Sir Sturgeon wouldn't have to take the whip away from her, because she would clearly have voted against it. She even more cynically stayed at home to let stand-in Finance Minister John Swinney present the budget. But as soon as Sturgeon stood down, within days, Forbes was back in the legislature. She was like, "Yeah, I'm going to stand." And of course, let's face it, the government's record has been mediocre. Her government, the government in which she served, absolutely ridiculous. But the fall, and you just touched on the very key point there, Mark. Following her day one escapades, where there was clearly a big fallout, Forbes has since rode back. That was the expression used, and you're quite right. She realised the damage. Yep, she was causing her own campaign. So she now stonewalls these faith-based questions, as she should have done. So yesterday she was asked by Paul Hutchin, I think it was, if someone is raped, should they be allowed to have an abortion? And her answer was, well, I wouldn't have an abortion, but I wouldn't change the law. Right. Well, that's not an answer.
It's not an answer. No.
She could have given that answer at the start, but no. So she's the reason I say it's cynical is she was all for being honest and full of what she really believes because she wanted to share. Now, when she realises it's damaging her campaign, she's kept her gob shut. Really
yeah, not really that honest after all.
Right.
I mean, there are ongoing questions. I think one of the big questions, though, really is, I mean, now we're at the end of the campaign, and we're like saying, okay, so how do you assess each person in there, right? Yeah. So,
sorry, can I just make another comment about Kate Forbes? Yeah. I'm really surprised on this campaign trail that they're all on, that they haven't questioned her more about why for the last year, other people or longer, since the beginning of COVID, in fact, the people of Scotland have been asking every single day about missing money.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, whether it's a missing, millions or billions from COVID, or every day on Twitter, every day on Facebook, people are asking, where's the missing money? I mean, of course, there's the SNP money. We know about that. That's under Peter Murrell.
I don't know if that's going to work too much because, there's so much money waste anyway. It just goes into a big pile of waste that she could just kind of wave away. Well, perhaps Humza talk, kind of, that's kind of what she's been trying to do. The thing,
people have been questioning the COVID money. The money that came in for COVID.
Yes.
And that was supposed to be used for certain things, but we're not really seeing an accounting of that.
Very true.
Well, yes. And
I think they could really hammer her on the money, on finances. Yes. And she's getting away with it. No one's questioning her ability on finances.
Yeah, but look, this is one of the things. You've got to see it, I think, from the perspective of an SNP voter. Right, so an SNP. I know this is very difficult.
Sorry,
right, but we can sit here, and some of us may be Tories, some of us may be Labour, and so on, right? And we think, okay, well, this is how we would look at it. We'd say, yeah, okay, Kate Forbes, she's a Tartan Tory. She is kind of one of us, right? So, I mean, for example, this is a poll I did. It's a very unscientific Twitter poll. If the SNP didn't exist, would Kate Forbes be a Tory? Basically, 80% of people said yes.
There you go.
Right. So we might think that, right? Now, the question is, do the SNP people think that? And I think that she is under a lot of attack because they have got a core belief in independence and against the Tories, right? Yep. So if they think someone is a Tory, are they going to vote for that person? I mean, can a Tartan Tory lead an anti-Tory party?
Yep.
Are you saying that financial ability is related to being a Tory?
No, not necessarily. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that, but I mean, she has socially conservative opinions. For a start, she's not what you might call a progressive in any way. The only thing that keeps her in that party is that she's got an idea for independence. She wants Scottish independence.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that she really hammered Humza on his ability. Trains weren't running, and about all the other things that she questioned about him being justice minister and about the health service and so on. But no one's pulled her up on finances yet.
Very true.
Well, that's Humza's job, perhaps.
Well, it's both their jobs, but they don't seem to be doing that.
His job to pull her up. On
sure, but he's pulled away from it, hasn't he? He's backed away from criticising his colleagues. He's made that clear. Whereas she's done the opposite, and he's only doing that to look like the nice guy, if you like, and make her look like she's a wee bit, bitter. But yeah, he's you're right, Mary. He could have gone in a lot harder on Kate Forbes on her record. He absolutely could have done, but he hasn't done so for whatever reason. Ash has been possibly more critical than he has.
Yeah, so I think the challenge in this a little bit is to think like an SNP member. Now, SNP members are generally older, 50. Most of them are over 50. I think it's 80% are over 50. Now, that's people who would vote SNP is different from membership.
That's right.
So you've got an older membership, many of whom probably are long-term SNP voters or SNP members, although we don't know about that. We'll come to that maybe in a little bit. And what are they going to look at? So what are the defining factors between these two? I just find it hard to think that they could vote for someone like Kate Forbes. I think the progressive wing is definitely not going to vote for her. Anyone who's anti-Tory isn't going to vote for her at all, because she's like a David Cameron or something like that, right?
Exactly.
It might be appealing to some parts of our side that she becomes leader, but that's not the thing. I don't think.
No, I agree. I think the key point here, and this is something we've discussed both on here and privately, nobody really knows the makeup of the SNP membership. Nobody even knows the number, as we'll come on to discuss shortly. But we all can speculate about the people who are voting SNP, and I think we've all got a good idea. We know that if you like, the mass Labour vote moved almost overnight en masse, and the figures were transposed from being the SNP winning 2 seats, Labour winning 40 to the opposite overnight in one election. So it's clearly the same people who were voting Labour are now voting SNP. We know that. Are they members though? Because if they are members, and we had this discussion privately, as you'll remember, in a little group the other day, we know that the profile of the modern day Scottish nationalist voter is very clear. It is very woke, and it's pro-Palestine, and it's pro-Ireland, and anti-Israel, and anti-Tory. We know that. But are those people members? We don't know that. That's the thing, because it's a lot easier to vote for a party than join a party. And so we really are. This could go either way. You don't know. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
So it really,
I think it's quite interesting as well that Humza is saying, look, if you're a core SNP voter, vote for me. The thing is, this is all about us and bolstering the base. Whereas Kate Forbes is like, reach out. I've got a thing here, but I'm not going to play it because we're not that much time. Basically, it's reach. I'm going to reach out across, to where is it here? Here we go. Here's the thing here. I'm the best place to reach out and persuade no voters. Is that a compelling argument with the for the members? I don't think that's a compelling argument for members at all. I think it's like us a little bit. We started the majority to bolster our support. You need to bolster your own support first. Then you can reach out to wherever you like. If you don't have any support in the core, what are you going to do? You can't do anything, right? So I think that's a poor strategic point in that case. Now, have you anything specifically to say about Humza himself and his campaign?
Well, Humza's campaign has been, he's clearly the anointed man. They want him to be the continuity dude. They want him to carry on the good work. A lot of people are now starting to suggest darkly that he's the guy who's going to be keeping a lot of the current SNP administration out of handcuffs if he does get the job, and if he doesn't, all sorts of stuff could happen. My belief is the Murrell and Sturgeon axis is terrified of what might happen if their favoured candidate are forced from power. And given how virulently they went after Salmond, I don't think they can expect any mercy here. And I think they're pretty much realised that no quarter is going to be given. Because,
I don't know. The party is going to be in disarray, right? And are they really going to wash their even more laundry in public? That would be like Rishi Sunak saying, right, I'm going to go out now and I'm going to really hammer Boris Johnson. It doesn't work. I don't think it works that way. I think it's like we're moving on.
Normally, I would agree with you. It's just the way that, for example, what's her name? Forbes has said all this stuff critical of her own government, the government which she served. I just got a feeling they're going to distance themselves entirely from the past. And I think if any malfeasance is found, I think they will get.
I can't see it. It's like Carter. Pardon Nixon, it's that.
It was
not Carter.
Ford.
Ford. Pardoned Nixon. That's the way it goes. So
sure.
I think they want, especially after this bruising fight, they'll certainly want to have more party unity. Right, we'll take a quick break and we'll come back with a final discussion on this for a few more minutes. if it actually goes off, the thing actually goes. Right, just when you think everything's fine, technically everything doesn't work. All right, so polling for independence has, as a result of all this stushy, polling for independence has dropped. We've seen basically a whole bunch of polls now, except for Find Out Now polls, which in top here says can't be trusted, are basically 39%, 40%, 42, 39, 42, 44. So basically low 40s, except for these outlier polls. And these, I mean, there's a lot of these going back here. Latest poll, Sky News, of course, being 39%. Now, actually, just I would say as an aside that we are in discussions with Find Out Now to try and figure out why their polls say 50% and 52% when the other ones say 40%. Yes. So we'll hopefully maybe be able to report back to you a bit more about that next week. Excellent. But this can they recover from here, David?
I think in terms of polling for independence, I think it's down and it's going to stay down. I've been saying since the 2021 election, the support for independence has peaked, and we can expect further falls. I think there will be further falls. I think that people are not convinced by the calls for independence. They're certainly not convinced by the antics of the three would-be leaders. You've got Ash Regan talking utter dreck with her ideas for getting independence in 2 minutes flat, and the other two, who are firmly pro-independence, are both being a lot more measured, saying, no, really, it may take some years. People don't want to hear that. So I think SNP support will fall as a result of this, and support for independence will fall also. I don't think they'll get it back. I really don't.
No, the core, I mean, the thing I suppose is the core. There are those who will always believe in it, but will they still vote for it?
Yeah, quite.
That's the thing, right?
Don't we bother? Yes.
So when, for example, Ash gets beat, then all the Wings Over Scotland crowd, they're like just be in disarray. Yeah. They'll be trying to push the other ones to go faster, but they've said they're not going to go faster. Now the ones that are going slower, Forbes and Humza, are like, well, we're just trying to, especially in Forbes' case, build more. Yeah. But they'll lose the core, right?
They will.
That a minute ago. So
she's putting her eggs in the basket of winning over no voters, and in so doing, she's going to, if you like, ignore and isolate the core vote, who will just think, as you say, what's the point in voting for these people? They can't deliver anything, and they got rid of the person who was best maybe placed to do it. So there is a real danger here that the numbers aren't there. The numbers are not there. Forbes knows that. Humza knows that. They want to get to 60%. They're not going to get to 60% because to get
lucky if they get to 20%.
You're absolutely right. They would have to grow it by getting new people in. To get new people in, they'd have to be more measured in their approach. In so doing, they would lose their core voters who want independence yesterday. That's their conundrum. And it's not really soluble because they don't have a plan. As we've seen, not one of them has a plan. Therefore, you cannot sell independence, the creation of a nation state, on smoke and mirrors. You can't. It's just not possible. You can't use a call for a referendum, a call for independence, to push your view above from 40 up to 50. You only get this if you've got 60 or 70% constantly, and they see that. They just can't get there. And
I have noticed more and more people giving up, and I might mention that. I don't know if I've got that one here. So let me just see. Maybe I can put this is. No, that's the wrong thing. It's in here somewhere. I'll get it. I'll find it.
I think another thing is that it's the SNP has very much been run like a cult.
Yes,
and a cult depends on the leader. And now that Salmond and Sturgeon are gone, the next three coming up are no way going to be able to hold a cult together.
Exactly.
Yes, you need to have that cult of personality to some extent, and you can't have a cult of personality with Humza Yousaf or Kate Forbes. It's just not really possible. I don't think they're not the type, and fair enough for them. You don't really want that. I mean, as Mary said last week, if the SNP members want competence, no, I don't think so.
They wouldn't be SNP members if they did.
Yeah,
quite right.
Right. Okay. We're going to talk a little bit about how many members the SNP has. There's a whole thing going on about that today with Ash Regan and Kate Forbes sending a letter to try and figure out what that is, what this SNP membership is. Why aren't they talking about that? Hopefully more will come out about that later.
We get a little bit about that in one of the Zoomers. So we'll just talk about that briefly.
So that's a good idea. So we'll talk about that a bit later. Yeah. So for now, we have coming up, Mary is going to be talking about the price paid for the Greens. Too much. and then Zoomer of the Week. But I have, it says here, donation promo. So please, if you can, if you like what we do, please consider donating to the majority. We're working every day to amplify your voice.
We are indeed.
So you can follow this wee QR code thing there, or you can just go to our website, themajority.scot, and we have donate at the top of the page. Anything that you give is most appreciated, and many people have done that, and we thank them for their ongoing support. Please choose monthly, one-time donation. Everything helps. Doesn't matter if you think this is just too small, whatever. It doesn't, because strength in numbers.
And thank you to everyone who does support us already.
Absolutely.
Right, that's that part. So now we're going to be back in a second with Mary.
Right, so tonight I want to report on the costs so far to the taxpayer of one of the Greens' flagship policies, free bikes. And then I want to ask, with all these disastrous policies from the Greens and the endless bad headlines that they're always generating, how can it be worth it to the SNP?
Yes, okay.
So as we know, every week I think I spend most of my time every week reporting on something, some disaster or fiasco or scandal. Something from the Greens. Anyway, this week the results are in about the bike fiasco. If you remember, the Greens basically got SNP to act like Santa Claus a couple of years ago, and I think it was just before the election.
Yeah,
would promise Scottish school kids would get free bikes. Well, it turns out that not many kids actually got a free bike. The actual number was 3,650 bikes.
I see. Okay.
So that's about 1 in 200 school kids, about 0.5%. I'm good with numbers. And guess how much that cost, guys? £5 million.
For 3,000 bikes?
For just over 3,000 bikes. That works out at £1,250 a bike.
Per bike? Must be a hell of a bike.
That's outrageous, isn't it?
It really is. It's shocking.
What a shocking waste of money. I mean, we're all worried about the cost of living crisis, fuel prices and everything. And these idiots are spending £1,200 on bikes for little school kids. But, well, basically the reason it costs so much, the whole thing was run by the Transport Scotland.
Yep.
And they've said, oh, well, this number is a wee bit misleading because the total cost, it's not just the bikes that you had to buy, because hopefully they weren't buying £1,200 bikes and giving those out. But
nice.
They've said it's not just that, it's the training. Wait to hear this: the training sessions, the staffing, and the setting up and running of 9 separate pilots using different delivery models. What? To give out bikes? Why do you need 9 different pilot schemes to give out bikes
free
to
bikes?
Kids?
No, free bikes as well. Right?
To give out free bikes. 9 different pilots.
That's utterly scandalous.
I mean, it's not rocket science.
No, not at all.
If you're thinking of it, I think it just shows with the Greens that they have absolutely no idea how to evaluate things or how to get any value for money.
Well, it's the same with the DRS thing, isn't it, as well?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I mean, isn't that, sorry to butt in, isn't that the point, though, of the thing? The point is not to give out bikes. Right? The point is to employ people that the Greens can then control and say, you belong to us, we pay your salary, and we give you money to do projects, so vote for us. That's what it is. That's how these things work. The bikes are incidental. They're the McGuffin, as it were. The thing, the plot device.
Distraction.
Distraction. That's the thing. That's not what it's about. It's just a way to increase their power.
Yeah, I mean, £5 million on this small number of bikes. It's like the councils, we're just getting all these council cuts. So, and as I said, the cost of living crisis and everything like that. So I mean, the money could absolutely have been used a lot better than that. But
no doubt.
And then the 9 pilot schemes, I just can't believe it. So Stephen Kerr, he said, the taxpayers would appreciate if the Scottish Government got together and attended classes on how to get value for money in negotiations. He's absolutely right. But this, this bike fiasco and this terrible waste of money and time and everything else, and these stupid promises that, the SNP have made when they were trying to get votes for the 2021 election. It basically just, you have to ask here's the bigger question. what have the SNP got in return for these harebrained, exorbitant schemes from the Greens? I mean, because they just keep generating bad headlines week after week for the Scottish government. So what are they getting out of it?
David, you give it a go.
Right, okay. What have the Greens done? The Greens have bailed out John Swinney, not once but twice in votes of no confidence, without which he would have been gone. The Greens votes every year ensure the SNP budget is passed. To do that. Now, let's not forget also the presiding officer is Alison Johnson. She's a Green MSP.
Oh, yes.
And her casting vote has ensured several bills have passed, including the amendments to the GRR bill, which would have prevented violent offenders from applying for a gender recognition certificate. Her vote ensured that clause, that amendment was defeated, as a result of which the bill subsequently passed, of course, but it then failed spectacularly when it faced its first challenge. And of course, in general, the Greens are obedient bag carriers and vote providers. They've tried to do the DRS scheme, which we can all see a schoolgirl could do better than Lorna Slater's tried with that nonsense.
Yeah.
All of the SNP are pulling away from it. So are they getting much for their money? Well, they've had a couple of back items of areas of backing where their support has been crucial, but it's now, I think you're seeing diminishing returns now. I think what they're getting back is massively outweighed by the bad aspects of having a bunch of absolute muppets upon whom you're dependent, a bunch of woke imbeciles who really couldn't run a bath. So yeah, I think the party is starting to come to its end between the Greens and
haven't they all said no? Humza says he would keep the Greens.
Yeah,
he said that. Yeah,
he says they're necessary.
That's great. So that keeps all that stuff.
He said that. Yeah, I just think though. I mean, imagine though, how are they going to? Let's see, Kate Forbes stays on and is given a job in the cabinet after losing the election. How are the Greens going to react to that? I wonder. I don't know. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a lot of trouble.
Do you think he would give her a job after this?
Well, I think he might. I don't know. It's difficult to say.
Unity cabinet. It seems unlikely because he's going to come under huge, as you say, pressure from the progressives in the party, right? They'll say, why are you giving her a job? Absolutely, that seems a bit.
It seems a bit fanciful, possibly. Well, we'll see.
Well, maybe nobody else can count.
That's true. I mean, there's so much talent, isn't there? Look at all the rest of them. Can just do it. Who could they give it to? Regan, she could do it. She could do it. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, Kate Forbes had 2 years of junior accounting experience to get the job.
Right.
So maybe somebody who did third-year accounting at school or something, maybe they'll get the job next.
Well, I mean, Kate Forbes' degrees are in diaspora studies and history. That's her degrees. Brilliant.
Right. I know. So that's what she did at university.
Yeah,
then she did spend 2 years working as a junior accountant somewhere.
Yeah. So the average study student
qualifications and training.
Yes.
For the finance minister of Scotland. I mean,
isn't it great? Really, doesn't that just make you proud?
Laughable if it wasn't so tragic. It really would.
Indeed.
But in the meantime, okay, thanks, David. I really appreciate you telling me what the SNP have been getting out of this, because it really makes me wonder. In the meantime, you already mentioned the bottle deposit return scheme.
Yeah.
Right. That was Looney Lorna. Then we've got Harvey's taxi drivers redundancies that are now going to be coming up because of all the LEZ zones that are going in place.
Of course.
And then we've got the 15-minute cities and the 15-minute cities and the 20-minute
neighbourhoods? Maybe it's because the SNP itself is bereft of any actual policies. Because
that's what I was saying. Right. I mean, I was wondering, what are their policies when all these green policies are all being enacted? Do the SNP actually have any policies of their own?
Well, they have independence, but they can't get anywhere with that. So basically, once that was a dud, then
if only they had a backup policy of something.
Green policies, right? So the tiresome Greens everywhere, right? But I can't see. I mean, definitely Forbes gets in. There's no chance of Greens working. Greens will walk. If Ash Regan gets in, well, I mean,
that's not going to work.
No, it's not going to work. They said they wouldn't work with her, right?
Yes.
So
how bad do you need to?
There's no chance she's getting a none.
I know.
But how bad do you have to be to get rejected by the Greens?
Yeah, true.
Yes. So I mean, okay, the only chances if Humza gets in, and then they're going to put all this stuff. It's going to be front and center for all this time, and. It's just it's nonsense, really nonsense. Mary, you want to finish off that section?
Well, that was it. Really, it was just I just wondered if the SNP think that the cost is worth it.
Yeah, I think
we're still left with all these disastrous schemes. We've got the
Yeah. The thing is, they've got all three candidates have said they wanted to pause the bottle the deposit
scheme. Yeah, but they're still going on with it.
But why are they going on with it now then?
Yeah.
It should just be paused. And in the meantime, it's generating negative headlines for them every day, and they have to talk about it in their thing. So the only thing is that Sturgeon must be still controlling it.
Must be,
yeah,
right.
Yeah. She would have to give the go ahead for it to stop or to be paused.
She's still First Minister.
Only until a week on Monday, though, guys. Only until a week on Monday, and then it's all
too long to wait.
Still too long. It really is. Okay, coming up, it's going to be Summer of the Week, but first, things you can do to support the show. We already mentioned it'd be really great if you can make a donation. You can buy a t-shirt and a mug. Still got these classic items of t-shirtness or mug.
You can subscribe to the show and you can tell your friends about us. That would be great.
Yes. And you can also do all of the above, which is even better. That's good. Makes us happy. We are happy. We're very happy to see your comments through the show. We had a little bit of a fuss in the beginning with some technical issues that you may not have noticed, but we were fussed about.
It seemed to sort itself out.
But we seem to be good now. So thank you all for being with us. Coming up, it is that moment we have all been waiting for. It is Zoomer of the Week.
Yay.
Right. Okay, so this is about the local issue, I suppose, but my Zoomer of the Week is Glasgow City Council leader Susan Aitken. So for the past year, we've been driving along the M8 looking at this Sighthill Bridge, which they've been constructing across the motorway. And this bridge is to join this multi-million to 100 million, so hundreds of millions of pounds development in Sighthill, reconstruction, building houses and so on. But it's to connect that to the rest of Glasgow. I don't know how successful that'll be. It's probably one of those bike route things again. Anyway, it cost £19 million to build this bridge.
Ooh, I didn't know. Did it really?
Yeah, 19 million, yeah. But motorway bridges can be quite pricey. I don't know if
the price
that's
of
a reasonable price. Well, so we've been going under every day thinking, when are they going to paint this thing? And it's like, come on, when are they going to open it? When are they going to paint it? And then it turns out that it's actually not going to be painted. And that's the way it is. I've not got I do have the video.
Oh, come on, you must have a photo.
Yeah, I have the video. Here we go. So anyway, Susan Aitken is up there defending this thing. Here, I'll play the beginning of this.
This is great.
The reason it looks rusty is deliberate because I'm not an expert in this, but I've had it explained to me, the type of steel that has been used, it's actually rust proof and it will stand up to the weather and weathering. So that kind of coating on it isn't rust. It might look like it, but it actually will preserve the bridge and make it last longer and make maintenance better. But the rest of the design is designed to be accessible, so it's very easy for...
It's a rusty bridge.
It looks like it's not finished. Now, some people said to me, I put this up on the chat and Twitter and stuff today, and some people says, well, the Angel of the North is made of the same material. I'm like, okay, well, you can expect if there's a sculpture outside, sculptures are rusty. That's the way they look. But this bridge just does not look as it's finished. Every time you go under it, you think, well, it needs a paint.
Once it's painted, it'll be nice.
Yeah. And it's just, oh my God.
What? I guess if you start with a rusty bridge, it can't rust.
I guess that's what they're hoping.
That's why it's rust proof, because it's already rusted.
Well, some people have said it's a special kind of steel that does that, but that doesn't make any difference.
It doesn't make it look any better.
No, it certainly doesn't. Any better. And perhaps it's a metaphor for all that goes on in the SNP Glasgow Council. Basically, what they've done is they spent tons of money, and all you get is rust. So it's just... I mean, who makes a bridge that looks as though it's not finished?
Here's a good comment. Craig Barber says, as I said in another post, cue the Glasgow Neds, will soon have it painted for them.
You can bet your life on that, guys. Yep.
I'm not a great fan of graffiti, but in this case, it would be an improvement.
Yes.
Anyway, and you should also graffiti the City Chamber's office of Susan Aitken at the same time saying, well, I won't say what she say. Okay, I'm sure they can figure out something. You daft person. But anyway, as I say, what a metaphor for the decline of standards and in Glasgow. We could have a nice, beautiful bridge coming into the city.
Yes.
No, you're not.
Instead
Right.
of looks
Okay,
like
so
that.
for that reason, she's my Zoomer of the week.
Very good, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Right. Okay. We'll be back in a second with the next one.
Well, I've chosen my Zoomer of the week this week because I think he is probably a fairly representative SNP member. So I'm voting for Pat Kane.
Oh,
He was trying to rally his followers this week to vote for Humza Yousaf. So, I mean, normally you would try to do that with some kind of a ringing endorsement, but not Pat.
Yes.
Pat sounded a wee bit half-hearted, although I have to say painfully honest. So the Times had written an article saying that Humza was out of his depth, which, I mean, we all know that's true, don't we?
Yep.
Especially Kate Forbes, of course. But Pat sprung to Humza's defence, tweeting, "He's no more out of his depth than any of his opponents."
That's it.
Wow. That's telling him.
I mean, that's a ringing endorsement, that, isn't it?
Yes.
Did you show that, Mark?
Yes,
you've got it
right
there.
Yeah, that's right.
So you'll see in there also, it says, he's the leader, brackets, and hinterland that a progressive indie party needs. What the hell does that mean?
Hinterland. What?
And hinterland. What is I mean, a
don't know.
hinterland is a region that's away from the coast or
Exactly.
away from urban areas. Is they trying to keep Humza away from urban areas? I don't
Well, I
know.
think maybe it means some kind of background or support or something like that. You know,
I think Pat was just trying to be pretentious and maybe hasn't used the right word, is what I'm thinking. Anyway, if anyone knows what this means, answers on a postcard, please. The winner wins a photo of Humza Yousaf, and the loser wins a photo of Humza Yousaf and Pat Kane.
Quite right. Brilliant.
Well, I don't know. I mean, this Pat Kane, he purports himself as being a big brain of the nationalist movement, right? And he's been a lifelong socialist, and he's now tied for many years tied his colours to the mast of Scottish independence. Now, I think certainly that why any artist would do so, I don't understand that, because it's an intellectual dead end, really. What more can you say than if we get independence, things will be better? That's basically the whole thing. If we get independence, will be better. Then what? Okay, but have you not thought beyond that? You know, his actual idea is Thoughtland, and it's all about this thinking. And has he not come up with a plan to say, well, what's this rubbish here? There's this, there's no answers to these questions. It's just like they shut their minds off when it comes to this question. And if they were talking about Tories or real policies like the poverty, housing crisis, and so on that are in the UK, right? And anything that the Tories might do, fine. They can do as much intellectual pushing and battering as they can, but when it comes to their own thing, they're just like, well, just completely closed. It's just a real dead end. I think.
Absolutely. Intellectual vacuum.
It really is, and the thing that's more annoying about it is how smug they are about it.
Yeah,
think, we're so clever because we're better than the English, and they're terrible systems over there. And you're like, well, they had to rescue you from the GRR boat. They're having to vote. We're having to rescue. The UK's having to rescue us from the bottled deposit return scheme and so on. And it's like, no, we're not really that good. Well, hopefully, yeah, exactly, Mary.
Well, poor Pat, someone said, could be worse. Pat could still be making records.
Wow.
Yeah, quite.
I think this
I quite like the music.
I think this is a problem, though. I think it's very difficult to say, people can make good music and still have bad ideas.
Or they could be good actors and have terrible ideas.
We talked about that. Brian Cox is a great actor, but he's a nationalist fool.
He talks absolute rubbish,
right?
I've got to say, when I'm asked, I've seen several bands down the years, several Scottish bands. I actually saw Hue and Cry in Albert Hall, and whenever I'm asked what was your least favourite gig of all time, that was it. It was terrible. So, but I mean, I didn't mind the music. I just
I saw them in the sub club.
Yeah,
at that time.
Well, we used to go and see them because
they were decent.
We knew
when they started off, they were all right when they were playing Fix and small bars in Glasgow.
Yeah, that's where we saw them.
Like that.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe it was Fix, actually.
It was Fix, Mark.
I remember them playing there.
That's a long time. Yeah. And I mean, but this is the thing. It's like, okay, you're pretty good at making music, fair enough, but get your actual, your political ideals in order. This just has no cohesion, nothing interesting, no good things at all about it.
Absolutely.
And there's so many examples of that. Anyway, I'm sure in a few months it'll be like, oh yeah, we should just be voting Labour.
Yep, I think you're right.
Hopefully.
Okay, coming up next.
This is me.
Next,
David.
if I can find the graphics. Okay, here.
Boom. Okay, guys. Well, can I just say, Niall Fraser, our colleague, is tuning in tonight, and he just correctly predicted my choice for Zoomer of the Week. Well done, Niall. It is indeed SNP CEO and Nicola Sturgeon's loving husband, Peter Murrell. So Murrell is apparently running the SNP leadership campaign from behind the scenes, a bit like the man behind the curtain. Mm-hmm. This despite the fact that the position of party leader and First Minister is being vacated by his lovely wife. Now, one of her stop clock is right twice a day moments, Ash Regan, pointed out that this is exactly like a Conservative Party leadership election being run by Carrie Johnson. She's right. So how farcical would that be? But in Scotland, that's what happens. It's just commonplace and nobody even comments on it. So Murrell has, of course, run the campaign with his customary openness and transparency, so much so that no one even knows how many SNP members are eligible to participate in the election. So how are they going to judge who's won? How are they going to know? But so as a result, today,
he's probably already decided it all.
He probably has. I think.
Well, why would he still be there if he wasn't there for that reason?
Yeah,
absolutely. What else would he? What possible purpose is he got other than ensuring the correct result? Anyway, so the leadership campaigns don't know how many votes they need to win. I mean, how can you do that? How many? There might be. I think there's a threshold above which they have to reach in terms of a percentage, but they can't even be told what that number is that they need to target. Anyway, the situation reached the farcical stage today. In as much as two of the leadership candidates' campaign teams have written to Murrell demanding to know the number of participant SNP members. So in keeping with the appalling secretive way in which he and his wife have run the party into the ground, Murrell is sticking to his preferred methods to the bitter end, literally. So his wife leaves a week Monday. That's when the new party leader is announced. We still don't even know how many people are going to be eligible to vote. So the departure of this truly appalling couple from Scotland's political landscape cannot possibly come soon enough. So as a parting gift, on the eve of his lovely wife leaving office in disgrace, having failed on every imaginable level, well done, Peter Murrell. You get my nomination for Zoomer of the Week.
Okay.
Well, Rita Johnson has already decided the winner, I think.
Yes, I think that's probably good. Well, we had this, so just a wee addendum to that. The SNP issued a statement. Candidates have already been made aware that responsibility for leadership election does not rest with any member of staff. We're trying to punt it off onto the company that's doing
the third party company, which is whatever it was.
I mean, I wonder though, to some extent, though, is it really just Ash Regan and Kate Forbes just setting up it was robbed gov type of situation?
Yep, indeed.
So we'll see how that comes up. David, it is your choice, but I think you should take Rita's
advice.
Recommendation. Well, Rita says David wins. So Rita, I'm loath to upset a wonderful, loyal, and very valued member of the audience team. So thank you, Rita. I will take your sanction there. Thank you very much.
Excellent. I think that's a good choice. And well, Pat Kane will continue to be a bit of an arse. And Susan Aitken can tell us that her rusty bridge is actually beautiful. I forgot. Anyway, okay, thank you very much for being with us tonight. If you can, please donate. We didn't mention, of course, that one of the things we really like you to do is to subscribe to us on YouTube if you can. Oh. After the show, please just take a minute, go and subscribe to YouTube. We need those subscribers. We can get more and more people watching.
If we can get up to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, then we can get much more out about the show.
Yes, that's right. Okay, and also, Mary, I'll say this before you. Thank you for all your comments tonight.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah, for your comments.
Okay, so I'll leave you with the thought of the week. SNP laughed at the Conservative Party's leadership elections and drama. Remember that?
Yep.
They couldn't get enough of it, but look who's laughing now. So with that cheery note and with 39% in the polls, we will leave you and we will see you next week. Same time, Wednesday, 7 p.m. for another show. Thank you all for your comments. Thank you for being with us tonight, and we'll see you soon. Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks
Good
for tuning in.
night.
See you next
Have a
time.
good week.